Winning doesn't always mean being first. Winning means you are doing better than you have done before. On that note, I welcome you all to one more insightful session of the IIEBM's induction program of 21st Batch Ignite 2020. I am Dr. Nidhi Srivastav, Associate Professor, IIEBM, your host for the session. This session will be of an hour. You can type your questions in the chat box that will be addressed during the session. I had read somewhere that there is nothing certain but the uncertain. And I believe that this present scenario of uncertainty is the most stressful condition. We received many requests to invite someone who can actually empathize and address this concern. So today we have with us Mr. Gaurav Chatur, and he will give insights on job market scenario post-COVID for management freshers. So let me introduce Mr. Gaurav Chatur. Sir is the co-founder and managing director for Asia Pacific at Catalan and has deep experience in human capital working with marquee clients across industries. He comes with a management consulting experience at Cognizant Business Consulting, where he consulted clients across insurance, technology, healthcare, and life sciences verticals in the US. During his stint at Cognizant, he was closely involved with McKinsey in implementing an operational excellence initiative across the organization. He has also worked with Infosys as a project lead and a process consultant. He has a post-graduation in management from the Indian School of Business, Hyderabad, and a bachelor's degree in electronics and telecommunications engineering. He has been a sportsman and has been an avid cricketer in club, college, and corporate circuits. He's a regular at football and tennis. He also has a keen interest in policy, geopolitics, economics, and future of work, and his articles have featured in leading publications. So without taking much time, let us start this session. And like the IIEBM, we say, let knowledge prevail. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nidhi. It's a pleasure being part of this discussion and always pleasure interacting with the students. Although I must say that I have a big grouse, I cannot see any of them. But nothing that you are responsible for. It's just the unique situation that we have all landed up in.
Right.
So let me start by telling you how I look at this situation. And I think maybe there's something that you can borrow, right? I'm here at home working from my bedroom, and actually I have my office right opposite from where I sit. Right? It's about 100 meters from my home, very close by. I see it every day, but I don't go there. So there's obviously a lot of frustration that comes along with something as unforeseen as this. The way I look at it is, and especially a person in the business that we are, in the recruitment business, we feel a massive change or a downward trend since April. It's looking up a little bit now, but April and May were like really bad months. So the way I analyze this and the way I sort of approach this is very simple. This is not a problem that I created. So I'm not going to blame myself for it. But it's definitely a problem that I need to solve. And that's the attitude with which I've lived most of my life. And this crisis is going to be no different. And with that, we've approached the last 4 months. And I must say that there is reason to be optimistic that things will look up in the future. Of course, some industries, some sectors have been more hit by the others than the others, and that's the nature of the beast any which ways. Dr. Rishikesh, may I request you to please put up the presentation so that I can walk the students.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We are starting it.
Thank you. So right, so I have a few slides. So firstly, what do I? Thank you, madam, for introducing me. So I represent Catanon, which is a global search firm, executive search firm, which helps companies across the world hire key talent. And we leverage technology. That's why the tagline "Talent through Technology" to deliver the best results to our clients. Like I mentioned, we enable the digital transformation of our client organizations. We've been listed on the stock exchanges of in Madrid, and our business case has been studied by INSEAD and IESE, which are leading business schools amongst the top 10. So they have studied our unique model as a business case. We have offices across the world, and we've served more than 100 countries from across 5 continents. Yeah. We work as one planet, one office, and in great cooperation with our global offices. We have a great passion for different cultures and different ways of the world. And we celebrate working with so many people of different nationalities. I think we have about 40, 45 different nationalities working with us across the world. And it's always a joy to interact with people from such diverse backgrounds. And we have a unique assessment that we use to help clients evaluate potential candidates. The assessment includes personality, competency evaluations, functions and projects, high potential indicator, and a film interview. I'll just keep it brief. You don't necessarily need to know this. We have an online platform through which our clients receive real-time information. We work across various industries. We have within India a 35-member team and offices across 4 locations: Gurgaon, Mumbai, Bangalore, and Pune, in addition to Singapore. So these are offices that I manage. And from India, we've delivered searches across 50 countries around the world. That's me. You already have my introduction, so I'm going to leave that out. Right. So here is the first slide. Really, that's going to be of great interest to you. What is the state of the economy, and which industries are doing well and which are not doing so well? So I hope everybody is able to see the slide well. So we have obviously the travel and tourism industry.
Yes, sir. Everyone is able to see. Yeah.
Okay, great. So we have the travel and tourism and the airline industry and maritime industry, which have been greatly affected. So any movement of people across borders is obviously hampered. Tourism is hampered. Nobody is going to go on a vacation in the middle of all of this, right? At least not on international vacations. Certainly, domestic also depends on where you are and which part of the world, right? Automotive has also got affected. Automotive was already on a slowdown for some time, and in April, auto industry in India recorded this first month without a single vehicle being sold, and that's massive, right? Another industry that is greatly affected is the real estate, the construction industry, especially, and this effect is going to stay for some time, especially for the commercial real estate, because a lot of companies have decided that they don't need offices to work, or they need much smaller offices, and people can continue working from the safety of their homes. Manufacturing industry in general has gotten affected. People are consuming less, so not many of us would have bought new clothes or new consumer durables during the pandemic and or in the aftermath. So there's a great impact there. Financial services, of course, people have not consumed as many financial products, or be it credit cards or loans or insurance during the pandemic. Then there are industries which are slightly affected. Education, of course, has been affected. Schools and colleges have shut down. No more physical classes of any sorts. So that has gotten affected. Oil and gas consumption is reduced, drastic reduction, and a good testimony to that is clear skies in all our cities. So all of us would have not seen, I've heard reports of people in the north, especially in UP, northern UP, saying that they are able to see the Himalayas, and here in Pune we are able to see the fort of Siaghad from our terraces, which has been unheard of. It has not happened for a few decades now, right? The industries now which have done better or which are doing good include agriculture. So obviously, people are still eating food, huh? And food needs to be produced, and there's still a lot of demand. Plus, when everything else is doing bad, the people are then focusing on now the basics, which is agriculture. One other industry which has obviously done well because which it reduces human to human interaction to a large extent, yet catering to consumption, is the e-commerce industry. So a lot of people are still ordering in groceries online or food online or anything that they need as a replenishment at home over the online channels. So that's become increasingly important. Telecommunication, all mediums of telecommunication, be it internet, be it mobile, or any other medium, has gained importance, including your media. I'm sure all of you have been binging on Netflix and Amazon Prime and whatnot. These days, Disney Hotstar, Woot, there's so many. And what has come into great focus is personal healthcare and hygiene products. So not just your sanitizers, but detergents and soaps and liquid soaps and everything that's consumed, and even disinfectants beyond sanitizers have become very, very important. Food processing and retail has seen well, not really retail, but food processing mainly has seen a big upswing because, again, it's a basic necessity needs to be consumed. Medical supply and services obviously are paramount. Never in our history, or at least for the last 100 years, has the profession of a doctor or a healthcare worker been more important. So the clear uptick that we've experienced in edtech, agriculture, e-commerce, healthcare, food, that I can myself endorse. And we expect a big boom in manufacturing as the world is now wary of China. And a lot of companies across the world, a lot of governments across the world do not want to be dependent on China for supplying processed goods. So a lot of companies are therefore looking at other alternatives. Vietnam is already put its hand up and is counting as a important country where a lot of manufacturing is going to. But the other countries, and India becomes like a very important one, owing to the large size of the domestic market in India, but also because we have skilled labor, we have a lot of people who speak good English, we have the size and infrastructure in at least in the major centers to cater to large manufacturing bases for global companies. I hope you guys are with me and you are following this. Please, I would have loved to actually not have a presentation, but since it's going to be a conversation in which I don't really hear you, please feel free to write in as many questions as you can, because that's really what I want to address. What I have here is just general information. What I want to address is your anxiety, your questions, so many doubts, so many worries that you may have. That is the part that I want to address the most. So here's a quick chart showing which are the major countries that manufacture. And if you see, India is not amongst the bigger ones. It's sizable, but it's not very big. And there's a lot of work that can be moved from China to India, this big ball here, to this small ball here, and also come from other countries which are going to face cost pressures of manufacturing. Moving on. So some of the roles open in industries which are still hiring include tech and startup hiring for product engineering, growth, operations, digital marketing, demand gen, sales and finance. Industrial companies, some of them are hiring sales, legal, R&D and supply chain folks. Agriculture is hiring sales, supply chain, R&D. So is clean energy, and a lot of transformation roles are also coming up. FMCG is hiring all sorts of digital roles, and life sciences is looking for operations people. Right. So the situation really has caused a lot of businesses to have serious cash pressures. These are real. Many businesses are firing people with old skills, with skills which were used in traditional ways of working. For many aspirants, MBA students, Europe or other professionals, Europe is a no-go, US is a no-go, Singapore is a no-go. Of course, there could be some exceptions. So you need to focus your efforts on sectors that are hiring or will hire. Digital skills are high in demand. Highlight those on your profiles, upskill yourself. And this is beyond what the college curriculum teaches you. College may or may not impart digital skills, but you need to have digital skills in the world today. And that's very important. So you have to make a compelling case via some sort of knowledge or experience that you can demonstrate, right? So think about what can be these areas. I can only give you indicators. I cannot actually tell you, do this. That has to be a function of your competency or preference. So don't post MBA or during MBA, do not hold back in taking up even zero stipend internships. Get experience, get solid experience, demonstrate value. If possible, get hired with the company that is giving you this internship by showing great performance. Reach out to as many people as you can, help each other out. It's very important that you stand by each other. And if till you find an opportunity, in case you're looking for an opportunity, if you're not going in for entrepreneurship or starting something on your own, that is, you have to keep up the learning. Every day there is new opportunities, new ways of working, new technologies, models, business models that keep coming. You need to keep yourself abreast with that. Some green shoots are available, and I think by September we should again be on a upward curve. So the downward slide should stop, and we should have a uptrend starting at least. And be peaceful. Stay in the real. Stay real. Don't pretend. Stay in the present, but don't worry. Excessive worry is not going to get you anywhere. This is a very important advice. You have to really keep a calm head on this. So that's all with the presentation. Ma'am, if the students have any questions, I would like to address them now.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So the first question is, what do you think how challenging it could be to secure the employment for management graduates post-COVID?
It's going to be challenging. Okay. I don't want to make it sound trivial. This is probably going to be a nasty year, or year or two, and we can hope that the situation goes away. But see, there are various layers to the situation. One is the disease itself. The disease is not disappearing in a hurry. We all understand that, right? We see
Right.
how transmissible it is, how easily other people can get affected. Most companies around the world have told their employees don't come to office till December.
Right.
Yeah, and other companies where people need to go are taking a lot of precautions. A cure or a vaccine is still at least 6 months away. So we are talking about this year gone, even in terms of getting back in a regular frame of working. That means we are looking only at next calendar year to start reviving the economy.
Right.
And that does not mean reviving hiring. That means businesses will start doing some business, some real business, and start recouping losses. So first, I think it will take at least a year from now for any semblance of solid recovery to start happening. Having said that, I've already highlighted some sectors which are doing well, and there should be great effort from the students' point of view to focus on these sectors if employment is what they are seeking at the end of the MBA course.
Right.
But the situation is grim, and it's best that we make peace with the fact that it is difficult rather than pretend that it is going to improve. The situation is not improving in a hurry, and it's best that we all understand this.
Right. The next question is, do you think that now the job roles will change for management graduates with the kind of situation we are in?
Yes, I think that's a very good question. So somebody's thinking really well. The job roles are going to evolve. So a lot of management graduates end up in sales roles, for example. Now, sales roles are not going to be the way they used to be, or are going to reduce a lot in volume, to from change from a field sales role to a digital sales role.
Right.
Can you sell to a person without meeting the person?
Very well said.
Now,
to digital sales.
Yeah. Similarly, managerial roles, can you manage people without having them in a room? That requires a different level of communication, empathy, human to human connect, knowledge. If anything, all your basic skills need to be far more accentuated. So prepare well. Secondly, technology is going to be very, very important in whatever you do. So you can only do less to learn technology, not more. So you whatever you can lay your hands on while you're doing this MBA course, as far as technology is concerned, just learn. Just learn, make yourself aware, read, expose yourself to as much as possible. And MBA may well go out of fashion. And it may evolve into very specialized management courses. Management of operations, but really operations. I mean, intense operations, or management of digital marketing platforms. So no longer will only a generalist have too much value. And maybe, this is something even for the business schools to realize. The world ahead is not a world of generalists or your traditional MBAs. It's going to be a world of specialists in whatever you do. Even if you are so as to say a management graduate, you have to be really a specialist in an area. Finance, you need to know finance really, really well. Marketing, you need to have a great handle on everything digital. And digital is far more than just social media, and it's so vast. I mean, a lot of things I got exposed to only now when I had no other option but to sort of dwell into how do I do business in this new world. So situation is serious. Again, I repeat what I'm saying. Situation is serious. Please do not underestimate the gravity of what is required, and don't expect only the school to provide you guidance on this. Whatever, see, it's new for everyone. It's new for the school as well, and the school cannot reject the curriculum overnight. So the onus is on the individual, on the student, to understand what is going to be important, to speak to a lot of people, to get a lot of information, to read up, to specialize, to become really competent at skills. So everybody, all the students, I can't hear you, I can't see your reactions, but let me tell you one thing. that I have in the back of my mind when I speak to you today. It's a very simple idea that I owe to you a very honest opinion, however grim it may sound. However difficult it may sound, I am not here to win a popularity contest. I want to give you a true picture of what lies ahead. By doing so, I don't want to discourage you in any ways, but I just want to make you aware, because you've got a good 2 years ahead of you to prepare alongside your course everything else that can help you make your profile a very strong profile. So this is, if I may, the idea of this session is to give you timely advice from my side, but hope you guys take it in the right spirit.
Another question is, what will be the structure of internships from now on? So, do you think that it will be completely shifted towards the online internships?
Absolutely, everything is going to be online. Nobody's going to. So companies are going to reduce the size of their offices or not have offices at all. So do not expect to go to an office for an internship. That's number one. Number two, the internships could happen not just in the summer internship, which your institute has carved out. It can happen all the time. In fact, irrespective of what your school has designed for you, I would suggest doing an internship for full 2 years of your course without compromising on the course itself. So that would really add high value to your profile. That is real learning and real positioning that, hey, you know what? I realized very early that there is going to be a challenge with getting a great opportunity after my MBA. I decided I will do an internship throughout the course, and I was obviously going to save time by not having to go to a classroom, not having to do a lot of things which a college would offer, and I compensated for that by taking up an internship for the whole duration.
Right. The next question is, are you experiencing any new kind of interviewing patterns post-COVID or during this scenario?
See, people are evaluating for people who can be trusted, right? Even far more than anything else. With this whole remote working business, you don't want to be looking. Gone are the days when you want to look over people's shoulders. So on both sides, when you're looking for a team member, you look for a team member who is reliable and can be trusted to put his 100% without having a physical presence. Similarly, when you have a manager, you want a manager who can trust people to do the needful, and who can manage people based on performance metrics and not necessarily on action. So these things are getting evaluated more during the interviews.
Right. So you have already mentioned about marketing, like changes in job roles for marketing. So HR and finance students want to know that what kind of job roles you are experiencing for them now during this.
Yeah, so finance, fintech, of course, has become very important again. I think this is the second boost for fintech after demonetization. So all your payment companies like your MobiKwik to Paytm and all of those are going to become very interesting, or payment gateway companies, etc. Then for HR, I think even more difficult now, right? There's going to be a lot of emphasis on employee. How do you keep employees engaged in a remote situation? To understand. So and it's already a challenge for HR to understand employee sentiment when employees are in one building, one campus. Now imagine like a 10,000 people employee strength dispersed across the length and breadth of India. And you need to keep them engaged, understand the sentiment, take proactive actions, etc. It's going to be huge. It's not easy. So develop soft skills, develop digital skills is my suggestion, not just for the HR but for everybody, because without like a top class competency on these two, there is no future. And I want to spell it out very, very clearly for you guys. Without top class competencies, there is no hiding behind a desk now anymore. Everybody is going to be very, very exposed.
Hmm. The next question is, what should be the target sectors for us? Like, should we target only the companies that are making profit during COVID, or we should target other companies as well?
I think right now it's only prudent to not target certain sectors which are obviously doing very bad. So, for example, there's no point targeting travel and tourism sector.
No point.
If they make it through this crisis, they would have done really well.
Right.
So I would suggest that of the top 6 sectors, there should be enough opportunities for all functions. So stick to those targets for now. As situation, nobody's seen this situation before. So my advice is going to be as good as what I can make out of it. Not because I have lived through a similar situation. So I can only suggest that play it as it goes. Right now, focus on the sectors which are doing well.
Do you see a downfall in compensation packages offered, especially to management graduates?
Certainly. And this is across not just this for tier 1B schools as well, right? Across the world. I think compensation is not even an element right now. If you are able to get an opportunity where somebody is ready to pay you, I think it's a good job already done. So be very realistic about what compensations you get. There's certainly going to be a dip, and certainly going to be a big shortage in opportunities. A very big shortage.
Right. What is your suggestion on new startups? Can you suggest some areas wherein we can start a new venture?
Oh, I think there is so much to be done. Healthcare, for example. Now, we all realize in the middle of this crisis that we are short of healthcare facilities across the country. I mean, you don't have to go too far. You go 50 kilometers from a city in any direction. You wouldn't find a decent healthcare facility where you would like to get admitted.
Right.
That's a huge area for this. For social enterprise, education, all of these, and I'm saying for profit social enterprise. I'm not saying for charity. There are so many areas that are evolving. I think education, for example, now most of us are able to do this webinar, right? Now think about those at the bottom of the pyramid. They still have kids who go to school,
right,
but have no means of actually getting this online classes. Now, can you think of a business model through which education can be delivered, and it can, and see the volume is so much that even if the per head cost is minimal, there's so much money to be made.
Right.
So how can you evolve education in ways that it becomes all pervasive? Right now, if this situation were to continue for say next 4 years, and there is no guarantee it will not. This is the gravity of the situation. There is no guarantee that this is going to go away, that schools and colleges are going to resume as. We can only wish, we can all say very optimistically, come 2021, everything is going to change. But we don't know. We actually don't know anything. We are just playing in the dark, and we are just riding by everyday news. One day, number of cases come down and cases of recovery go up. We say very good now. I think it's going away. The next day, the government announces a lockdown because we have a record high of active cases. So we really don't know.
Do you see that there will be more inclination towards technology or IT skills now more than interpersonal or people skills or soft skills, as you mentioned?
I think both are going to be equally important. Firstly, technology is going to be not treated as a separate industry. Technology is part of every industry and every function. So not having technology skills is not an option.
Right.
So it's very clear. If you don't have technology skills, you don't survive the future. Second, if you don't have good communication skills as a management graduate, your value will drop down very, very sharply. So if you think your communication skills are average, use these 2 years and do whatever it takes to improve them. And everything is possible by human will. So, and 2 years is a very, very long time. Very, very long time.
Right. That's right. Okay. Can you highlight on some of the job opportunities in agricultural sector for management freshers?
I'm so glad, Dr. Nidhi, that somebody asked this question. This is brilliant. So, whoever it is, I first want to congratulate you because you're really thinking for multiple reasons. One, a lot of people have gone back to their homes, and homes are not in tier 1 cities. Homes are where? In the hinterland, in India, in Bharat, right? Not in cities which are pretty boring, which are pretty one-dimensional. So, with so much talent going into the hinterland, what is the one sector that should get real boost? It's agriculture. And do you know that agriculture has been the sector in which maximum technological innovation has happened over the last 3-4 years? So everything, and if you've been following the news, this government has done something wonderful. They have done the farm gate reforms. I urge all of you to read up on what are the farm gate reforms and why it is going to benefit the end farmer. So what that means is there is a huge chance of now the agricultural lobby is sidelined. Now these guys can sell their produce everywhere. So everything from increasing crop yield to protecting the crop to taking the to the logistic optimization of selling the crop into a market to getting fair price and ensuring there's no wastage to cold storage to even agriculture, food production, food processing from agriculture produce, there is tremendous scope of innovation. And of course, couple this with GIS for farmers to understand crop patterns, weather patterns, give intelligence, increase. So there is so much to be done. This is the most interesting field, and a lot of investors, lot of private equity and venture capital investors are focusing on agriculture. Ultimately, the produce of agriculture is not going to diminish in importance no matter what happens. And one thing we are very good at as human beings is producing other human beings. And especially in India, we have been like outstanding at it. So we have more mouths to feed. The world has far more people than it had when we all were born. Which means the burden on the agricultural system is higher, and therefore the importance of this is far high.
Absolutely, yes. The next question is, as there are changes in job roles, so what can be the changes in performance evaluation and appraisal patterns that you see?
Actually, I've not even thought about this. Performance evaluation and promotion and all of this business has gone out of the window. I don't think so. Anybody in today's world is concerned about this thing at all. If anybody has a luxury of being concerned about this, he's in a very happy spot where things have not gotten affected. Right. There are only two things of concern: is the business going to survive? Is my job going to survive?
Right.
And beyond this, I think everything else has become very irrelevant. To be in all honesty, so I'm going to pass this one because really I cannot get myself to even think about it.
Right. Okay. Do you see that work from home culture is really effective in every industry?
Not at all. I think some industries require you to be physically present, right? For manufacturing, for example, there's so many manufacturing operations. I mean, there's so many things that happen on the shop floor where you as
Hmm.
a production head or a operations manager need to be present physically to do. So
Hmm.
not every industry can do it, right? And most industries, traditional industries, can't. But many
Hmm.
industries can also do it at the same time. So it's a case to case basis. There's no one size fits all. But your all tech enabled industry
Hmm.
um, uh, can do it very well.
Okay. What are the life lessons that you have learned during this pandemic?
I think first is be very grateful for what you have. No, uh, and I say this every single day of this crisis. Uh,
Hmm.
there is so much to complain about. So much has gone. So much effort has gone down the drain. We've been set back as a business, as individuals. Have taken all of that, but
Hmm.
yet there is so much to be grateful about. Health, your health. You
Hmm.
still have food on the table. You didn't have to walk miles and miles like a lot of migrants had to do to get back home. You had
Hmm.
you. I have all my loved ones, my family safe, and most of them are with me and in front of my eyes.
Hmm.
uh, uh, Grocery and other provisions are available very close to my house. So one, it's uh, gratefulness is been a very very good reminder. I always knew it. Another very good reminder is the power of just being very very honest and non-pretentious.
Hmm.
uh, as a leader of an organization, it's very difficult sometimes to convey difficult information to the team, because
Hmm.
you don't want to be the person bringing bad news to the team. But I
Hmm.
realized that people accept bad news as well as they accept anything else if it's said with all honesty. And it's You don't have too many occasions to deliver such things, right? Such communication. But and the second thing is empathy. Just by understanding what the other person is going through, you
Hmm.
can deal with the other person so much more humanly, so much more. And one thing I've realized also, that this crisis has a very good silver lining.
Hmm.
Uh, uh, People have become very real
Hmm.
in all business interactions, in all interactions. In fact, people are just far more real. Welcome change. So the crisis is not all that bad.
Okay. The next question is, you mentioned about digital skills.
Mhm.
So, what digital skills should I look for and how should I learn that? Like, can you suggest some platforms or some modes? I think the student wants to ask that.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of modes, right? From LinkedIn Learning to Coursera to an academy to so many of. What interests you is the real question, and what field you're targeting.
Hmm.
Digital marketing is always great to have, but if that's what you're interested in, I'm not sure how many of you are even fully uh, conversant with Excel and all its functions. That's a
Hmm.
digital skill that you can also use, especially if you're going to be in either operations or finance.
Hmm.
You need to be really good at it. Being
Hmm.
able to make really kick-ass presentations in PPT is a great digital skill.
Hmm.
Do your presentations look really amateurish,
Hmm.
or are they of corporate standards? That's another thing that you can ask yourself, and at
Right.
least keep making presentations and improving. Or you're not going to get from 0 to 100 in a day, but you can
Right.
keep improving it and making it better and better and better, right?
Hmm.
I still have to make a lot of presentations. In fact, this presentation that you saw was made by me.
Hmm.
So it's making presentation, you can't wish it away, right? I still have to use a lot of Excel, do a lot of number crunching.
Hmm.
I learned a lot of digital marketing this year,
Hmm.
from using email campaigns to using Google Analytics. We made our new website focused on India. We integrated an e-commerce element. Why don't you build a website for those who have a friend or a family member doing a business? Why don't you build their website yourselves? That's
Hmm.
great learning. and read up as you build. I mean, once you do that, and once you try integrating all the elements to it, you will realize how little you know. At least I did. Since April, I've learned a lot.
Can you suggest a roadmap or a career planning progression for these students?
Get
What
a
should
job.
be the direction? Yeah, wherein
Get a
they
job or start a business.
okay.
There-
Get a job.
I don't want to give you, very high level 30, 40,000 feet gap. That's not the idea. Let's be very real. That we don't know the roadmap of our lives. I didn't know the roadmap of my life. I never went by a roadmap. To be very honest, I played it by the ear. And in these uncertain times, it's even more difficult to give myself a roadmap. Forget giving you guys a roadmap. But yeah, I can give you a principle. The principle is to become best at whatever you do. So as long as you're doing whatever you're doing to the best of your abilities, you are going to get there someday or the other. It's not going to happen, like I said, overnight, like turning a switch. But
Right.
try and become the best at whatever you do. That's a road, at least. I don't know if it's a map.
Right. The next question is, as we are now, more conscious about health and personal care, so what are your views on growth in organic farming and products market?
Yeah, that's fantastic area. I think there's going to be a lot of demand for health, wellness stuff, and this is beyond gyms. We are not talking about gyms and yoga and all that has been beaten to death. But a lot of what we consume, and we realize, right, one of the things everybody talks about is that since they've been eating at home, they are not falling as sick as they used to fall when they used to, constantly eat out at restaurants and coffee shops and all of that. Which means a lot has to do with how it is made and what are the ingredients that go in. So people have become more and more conscious. A lot of immunity products have become so much more important. We've been consuming a lot of immunity products since birth, which are part of our Indian ethos. We don't realize it, and we sometimes don't like it. But there's gone into our system, and a lot of our low mortality rates trace back to these strong immunity characteristics that we have.
Right.
So definitely a great area, and I'm glad that people are thinking about business, because it's very easy to resign yourself to say that only I'm going to do a job. But it's super if you start early in your life with the mindset that I want to do a business, then you're going to become really good at whatever you do, because business is not easy. It requires you to have all-round skills and all-round thinking and a real drive to make it successful. I'm very, very glad that this is the second question that's coming up in the area of business and agriculture. I'm very, very happy to hear that.
Right. So any tips from your end for job hunting for this batch?
Yeah, so like I mentioned, upskill yourself, make a case, take up 0 cyber internships if it's required, do projects that you wouldn't otherwise do, or your curriculum doesn't force you to do, and do real stuff. Don't do PPT reports for the sake of making reports. Do something real. Just go to a business and say that, go to a neighborhood kirana store and tell him that, okay, I'll put you online. I'll help you increase your sales by even 5% by putting you online. If somebody is able to do that, I think any recruiter, and tell exactly what all they did and what all challenges they faced, because you can also faff about all of these things. And anybody who's worked even for a year will be able to tell you, see through this. So wherever you are, and then you don't have to be in a city to do this. Go to see any business. If you have a family business, if you have a friend, if you have a doctor, just help, find a solution, try and help. That's learning, and people are going to hire for these practical experiences, not only for a management degree. I mean, of course, there is some value to that, but that value is not going to take you too far. Irrespective of the B school you come from, irrespective, even if you were to come from ISB, people will would have asked me if I were to graduate this year. Would have asked me, okay, what is the value that you bring? That value should be demonstrable. In short.
Any major changes in HR policies that you are seeing?
I think work from home is going to be a permanent thing. There's one big HR policy that's going to come in. Beyond that, I think I don't know how people are going to monitor attendance and all of that. I hope they don't need to monitor. I think people should be responsible enough. I think a lot of companies are now going to hire people on an interim basis instead of permanent basis.
Okay.
Specialists who come in for a defined duration and then go and maybe are paid very well for that duration, but don't work as full-time employees.
That means freelancers also do have a lot of scope.
Oh yes, but again, have to be specialized, cannot be routine, have to be really good at what they do in a area of high demand. Why would anybody come to you otherwise? No, it's a basic supply and demand situation.
Right. So did you ever encountered failure? If yes, then how did you dealt with it?
Well, I do it every alternate day, I think. I'm saying alternate day because if I would have said every day, you would have said, you've got a failure to talk to us. I think anybody who's not encountered failure has probably not tried anything. There's a saying which goes like, those who don't get out of home can, will never get anywhere, right? So I think I've encountered failure in everything from sports to work to only studies. Maybe I have not encountered failure, but everything else that I've done, and every single day at work, I keep trying something. I mean, at least every week or 2 weeks, we keep trying a new idea. Most of them fail. But our enthusiasm doesn't fail. I am a sales guy also. One of my hats I wear, as a general manager or a managing director, one of the things that I have to do is also sell. Only 1 in 10 clients that you meet actually buys anything from you. So 9 go amiss. I mean, nothing comes out of it. That's failure. So failure is inherent in whatever we do. It's but if you have to fail and fail fast, learn and go and try again, and keep trying something or the other. Failure is very, very nice to have. I would encourage people to fail, but when you fail, you should have known that there is nothing left in the tank. You would have tried your best and failed. Just failing for the sake of failing is no great shakes. Huh?
Right. So, sir, with this, we close the session. Any closing statement from your end?
No, I think I'll just give one advice to which I was given by a good friend, former boss, and a person I really admire. He told me that whatever you need, God has already given you. So don't worry about many things. Whatever you need, God, nature, whatever you call that. And some people don't believe in God. So nature has already given you. So don't worry about too many things. Once you realize this, you realize that you are fully equipped. Everything else is greed beyond that. It's okay to have that, but you don't need to really worry about anything. You are self-sufficient.
Right. Thank you so much, sir, for this wonderful session. I hope students are now clear with lot of confused state of mind. Now they are clear, and now they will learn more, and they will learn more to come out of this uncertainty. Thank you so much for your time, sir.
Pleasure is all mine. Thank you.
Sir.